rules? I'm not really sure. Hey, the Polish Central Bank left interest rates unchanged today. Yeah, 1.5%. Man, did you see that zloty move? On fire. You like the zloty? Yeah, let's see about kitty cat. Who? Yeah? Nobody? No. Well, guten Morgen. It's 7:30 in the morning, New York time, approximately London lunch, Wednesday, September 7th, 2016. This is your daily Forex trading strategy session here at Forex.Today. And thank you for being a client of TradersWay. Let me first remind you that trading is risky, not appropriate for everyone. Your past performance, good or bad, is not necessarily indicative of future results, but please always stay small, stay humble, focus on the long term, and never risk money you cannot afford to lose. Jimmy's grabbing some coffee. Right on, Jim. Jimbo, Jimmerama, James, Jamie. Hey, like I said, my name is Wayne McDonell. I'm the Chief FX Market Strategist for TradersWay. It's really nice to have you here this morning. I do these sessions every single day because TradersWay and I get together and we want to help you become a huge success in trading Forex. Because the idea is that we'll earn your trust and your loyalty and respect now. And then when you feel comfortable in the skills that you're developing and you'd like to trade real money in the foreign exchange market, you'll choose TradersWay as your prime brokerage for your successful trading business because you got to know us ahead of time. Jimmy says, love the book. Whoop, whoop. Right on, James. Hey, we do these sessions this time of day, every single day, Monday through Thursday here at Forex.Today, and every Friday at FX Street, where I am Forex Speaker of the Year. Most of the sessions I do at FX Street are for premium members only. So if you want to play, you got to pay, boy. So anyways, I hope you open up an account at TradersWay.com, even a demo account. I don't think it's much to ask. I give you well over an hour, almost 2 hours every single day for free, and it takes less than 1 minute to open up a demo account. So pay it back, dude. Come on. Come on now. So without further ado, it's one of my favorite times of the day, and that is the time to play the happy music. Because we're so positive here. Hey, 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 hey! G'day, mate! Shall I throw a pip on the barbie for you? Cool. Hey, I know you guys have had trouble logging in the last 24 hours or so. We're trying to speed up the site, and the best way to do that is lock everybody out. And I said to the programming team, I'm like, I get the strategy, but I like the creativity we got here, but let's put this one in the parking lot. And we'll revisit that some other time. So anyways, 30% increase in speed in the site, but nobody can log in and post. All right, so anyway, so they're working on it. They're working on it, you know. You know engineers, socially inept, right? They're like, what? It works. But anyways, you can see as just in the last hour or so, less than the last hour, just very, very recently, you can see Danny Boy and Olympiu. They were able to post their analysis for the day. So it seems to be potentially working. Cool, huh? So thank you for posting your ideas on Forex.Today. That's the whole idea, is collaboration. Life is good. Hey, did you guys see the post? I just had to follow up with our conversation yesterday. So I posted it, and then I did a follow-up 8 hours later. So what we're talking about yesterday is how to hedge long-term positions on there. Like, we used the Kiwi yen as an example. So here's what I did here. I shorted the pound yen to hedge, right? So I'm short-term short pound yen to hedge my long-term long Kiwi yen. You guys following me? Look how lucky I got on this one. What a lucky dog. A lucky, dirty dog with fleas. Stinky stray trade, huh? Look at that. What kind of bonehead does that? Yeah, I must have totally screwed that one up. But it worked out. Just amazing, right? Notice the velocity, like, it was break even for 5 minutes, and then boom. So anyway, so it took off. These are 5-minute candles, just like nailed that one. Just redonkulous. And so, and then I followed up. So I talk about what we talked about in the webinar, and then I followed up here. Look, 8 hours later. Oh snap! See, there's the entry. Look at the acceleration here in Asia. And gold, dang it, I got knocked out. 333 pips. Stupid pound yen. 333 pips in about 12 hours. Boom! Not bad for a 5-minute scalp. Just, but silly. I mean, silly. So anyways, so I lost on the Kiwi yen. The Kiwi yen came down, what, 125 pips? So I hedged that and made 333 pips on this pound. But you'll notice I also put in a smaller trade. So, and then my Kiwi yen is back. So I'm back to where I was yesterday. So I haven't lost any money on Kiwi yen, which is the whole point about being long-term long. And I made 333 pips on a scalp that hedged it. How silly, huh? Lucky dog. Totally the right time, I guess, for the lesson, right? Hola, Nuno. Nuno is one of the grandfathers of Forex. So anyways, here's what I wanted to do. Calendar. Is France. Calendar. Okay, let's look at today. Life is great. Life is grand. All right. So, bum rum 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 bum. So, one of the things we talked about yesterday is you could possibly trade CAD yesterday and hope you're still in it today for this interest rate decision. And of course, if it goes your way, You making the money. You liking the money, you gotta make the money. Right? So did anyone swing it overnight? I suppose that would have worked if you were long Canadian dollar, right? What happened yesterday? Well, ISM services came out and it was pretty stinky. And dollar got weak really fast. Perhaps that was somewhat related to my pound yen trade. Maybe that's why I got it right exactly at the top. Right? I'm scratching my chin. I know it's so dark in here you can't see. Could be, right? So ISM comes out. It's disappointing. What is one way to profit from that? Bad U.S. economic data. What does one do? Buy Japanese yen. Yeah, risk off. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, selling dollar. Yep. That's another one. Or just USD yen short. That's the third one, right? We went from what, almost 104? Now we're at 101 and a half. Easy, right? Yeah, right, Nuno? Where's our Saporan brethren? So anyways, so that might have messed your trade up yesterday because I think the one I talked about was buying USD CAD at some pivot zones, and that worked out no so good. And yeah, you can see I bought this at the weekly pivot. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. I feel you judging me. I know. Yay. Zing, zing, zing. All right, so listen to the story I got to tell about three bad brothers. All right, so I think what we talked about yesterday is if you were a bear on the CAD or, said differently, bearish on the Bank of Canada's outlook. Yesterday we were thinking like this would have been an interesting area, right? This is 24 hours ago. An interesting area for a change in direction, right? Right? What happens when you're at the pivot profit zone and you hit the target early in the week? By the end of the week, there's a decent possibility that you're back here, right? Did you get it? See, this is one of those times where if your fundamentals are, you know, like, I guess let me try to say it with words since I'm babbling. This is very clearly bearish, right? You see, back to the 21, back to the 21. It keeps, it's right. It's like payday over and over and over again. But what if you don't want to buy CAD? What if you want to sell CAD, for example? Well, you don't buy it into this 2155, especially one that is such beautiful angle and separation. But you look for reversal patterns in this area here, and only in that area. And if you get that, a reversal pattern in there, then you can consider the trade, right? So again, if it had done this, you might be buying some dips. And the target would be back to the central. Right? But no, no, no. Sorry. Sorry. That's the dollar weakness kicking in. Once again, that's the bad ISM. Okay? But this is the place to look for the reversal. We did not get it. MoveOn.com. Okay? Life is great. Life is grand. Life is good. Nuno says, yes, but they're trying to freeze oil production. Yeah. But they're trying to freeze oil production at 100%. Right? So what's the point of that? So you got to be careful in here now, right? So we'll see. Excuse me. Honestly, you know what I think it is, and it's really an oversimplification, which means it's probably it's probably true. We're just stuck in the middle. I think that's all it is, honestly. Okay, you got 40 down here. You got 50 up here. We're at 45. And I think that's it. I think that's it. We're just, nobody really knows what to do with it. Okay. Yeah, I believe so, Austin. There's also some disruptions in Nigeria, but it all works out. So anyways, going back to this, I don't think oil is actually moving, going from 44 to 45 to 46 to 45 to 44. It's just getting narrower and narrower. All right, so anyways, so trade it. Can't really swing it now, so scalp it, baby. Okay, that's a 10. The beige book. Anybody unclear of what the beige book is? Tell us. Tell us. So demanding. All right. So the Federal Reserve banking system. See, there isn't actually a Federal Reserve Bank. There's a system of banks. All right. So the United States has multiple central banks, and they're stationed around the United States of America. Okay, so there's one in Atlanta, where I live now. There's one in San Francisco, where I used to live. In fact, my office used to be right next door to the San Francisco Fed. All right, so they're stationed around the world, and they're independent central banks. How interesting. They even print their own currency. Well, the Treasury does, but on behalf of the Fed. And it'll actually say on a let's say on a dollar bill, it'll actually tell you if it's from San Francisco or Atlanta or so on and so forth. So anyways, these central banks, what they do, the reason they're broken into regions is so that the head of these central banks and their staff, they can do some backward number crunching to see how the economy was, because you can't crunch future numbers. And they're always developing these reports, what's happening in the economy, right? But they also do some forward guidance or research, if you will. And you can imagine like the president of the San Francisco Fed sits down with Silicon Valley leaders, and then flies up to Seattle and meets with people up there in Portland, right? So meets with Nike and Microsoft and Amazon.com and sits down with all these business leaders and say, hey, how's it going? How do you feel about the future? Right? What's 2017 going to be like for Nike? And they get all these, they gather these statistics, right? And all this information gets compiled and sent, it gets compiled into a book, sent to the Board of Governors in Washington, D.C. that oversees the Federal Reserve banking system. And they take all the reports from all the central banks around the United States and they compile them into a book to be distributed to the Federal Open Market Committee and to the other Board of Governors, obviously. And guess what color the cover is? It's, yeah, orange. Well, there's a green book and a blue book. Those are not public documents. I believe the blue book is the Board of Governors financial outlook and assessment of the regional and national economies. Pretty interesting, right? The green book, I forget what that is. And then, of course, the beige book is colored beige. Okay? And so the beige book is the sort of the microeconomic view of each region of the United States of America that is, compiled, sent to the Board of Governors and to the Federal Open Market Committee members, both voting and non-voting, and also released to the public because America is free. This is the land of the free. So we make it transparent for all to see, but you're not allowed to hedge or carry trade because you might hurt yourself. But you get a beige book. You just can't trade it very well if you're... I digress. So anyways, yeah, the beige book comes out. There's some pretty nice information in there. And then zippity-doo-dah, straight over to Chinese exports and Australian exports. What do you think? Do you think China should be exporting a lot? Do you think Australia should be exporting a lot? And in fact, wouldn't it be great if Australian exports went to Chinese imports? Wouldn't that be great? Aye. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Aye. Aye. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Hey, Daniel, did you see the recent report on foreign exchange flow through Singapore? It's huge, man. It's really growing. Holy smokes. Number three, like easily number three, like way above number four, right? Like so far from number four that number four really should be counted as number five, right? Just huge volumes. Yeah, Nuno's scared. Everyone's scared about Trump. You know what scares me though? Because I'm a foreigner living in the United States, right? But I see like I like to study history, and if you take a look at our Middle Eastern policy since World War II, and then you see what Obama and Clinton did, Obama and Hillary, I should say, to be specific, and they've just like completely uninvolved in the Arab Spring, and our major ally, Egypt, has collapsed, and we fill that void with nothing. And then we totally let down our other buddies, the Turks. So we lose that. We're occupied in these wars in Iraq, and then just walk away and let the vacuum fill with, you know, with ISIS. And then we let the Russians walk right into Syria, you know, so on and so forth. It's just like, what the, you know, like, WTF? Holy, like, I mean, that's almost worse, I think. Just like, wow, so we lost Iraq, we lost Turkey, we lost Egypt, we lost Syria. But besides that, our Middle Eastern strategy seems to be solid, right? Oh yeah, don't forget Benghazi, right? Libya, that was great. Our ambassador and all his staff were murdered in the embassy, and we did nothing. You're like, oh my god, holy smokes, you know. And I try not to be political because, like I said, I'm not even American. But like, what the hell was the foreign policy with any of that? Holy smokes. Holy smokes. So we're going to reward Hillary with being president of the United States? Oh my God. And you're scared about Trump? Jesus, Murphy. That's just scary to me. So, anyway, so yeah, oil stuck in the middle. Let's move on to another one. I don't think I want to go euro. I think I got like 200 trades on that. Let's go over here. Yeah, Miles is worried about the islands. Do you know really why they're fighting about the islands? They're fighting with the islands not only with Japan, but with Korea, with the Philippines, with almost every nation that's in the waters off of China. And is it really, you know, because they want to build military bases? No, not really. Do you know what it's about? Oil. I don't think it's actually the shipping route because the United States has been controlling that forever. It's great. China loves the fact that the United States is paying the bills on that thing. Why would China want to do it? Let America do it. Eventually, America will walk away from a lot of their Asian, uh, you know, influence. Let's say, especially when oil starts going from the Middle East and starts heading east to China instead of west to the Western world. When that happens, then there'll just be need, and we won't be able to afford things in the area, and then China will have to pick it up then. But what it is I don't know. Let's just draw a stupid map. All right, this is by no means a politically correct map, but let's just say this is China, and there's a whole bunch of island nations. Okay. What you need to do is, what is the legal definition of the shoreline? Is it here? Is it halfway between, these islands and the shore? And if this is technically China, then does that move this line? Okay. And if so, and there happens to be oil right about here, offshore oil, who owns the oil? And if if you say, well, this is China's island too, then it moves this line even farther, and all of a sudden, these guys might be here, but they don't get the oil. It would legally belong to China. So really, a lot of the debate is, where is the shoreline? So I'll give you an example. If you look at the world from the top, right? From the top, kind of looks like this, right? You're looking down, and this might be Russia, and this might be Canada, and this could be the tip of the United States, whatever, right? And there's oil under the cap. Who owns it? Right? So Russia has actually taken a submarine and gone, and they've gone under the ice cap, and they've actually planted a flag. And said, it's ours. And the Western world just broke out laughing. Yeah, just like, really? That's how we do it? We're going old school here. But it's actually such an issue that the Russians have actually done it. Just, you never know. Maybe maybe that's where $1 trillion worth of wealth will be settled, based on who planted the flag first. Yeah, just like the U.S. did on the moon, right? Or so. So, anyways, I think a lot of those issues really have to do with who's closest to the oil, and it moves boundaries and stuff like that. Okay. So, anyways, pig dog. Start on the daily. I got to back out a little bit. So we already have this marked. So I think I'll stick with it. What do you think? So sort of like up to 35, back down to 29. I call it pig dog, Brooke. But yeah, you can call it cable if you like. Okay. So if this goes higher than that, then we may have to do something like this. But we'll deal with that then. You can see we already got this ready to go as well. Life is great. Life is grand. So you need to decide now if you're going to buy low. Ba, 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 ba. Come on now, touch me, baby. Can't you see that I am not afraid? What was that promise that you made? So this yellow zone is the sweet spot of the day. De jeu. Sweet spot de jeu. Low to high. If you're the bull. Okay. So if you were on a 5-minute chart, wouldn't you be waiting to see if it did one of these things? Life is great. Life is grand. Life is good. Is good. Life is good. Okay. Quite a coincidence that this and this is a monthly pivot point. Quite a coincidence, huh? But apparently 133.84 is really important, but it's just completely a coincidence. How long until the Carney speech? An hour and a beat. A beat? Cool. So what do you think? Could you have a plan here? Do you think someone's going to trade this like a double bottom on the Cinco, on the fiver? James is calling the end of Brexit. I went. I wonder when the Europeans will realize that socialism has failed. Things like responding to a crisis with austerity, right? Like they're going to cut expenses, cut spending, and throw all things into just debt, which I think is financially sound when you're doing very well, I think. But by cutting spending, they're going to spur the economy and get themselves out of a funk. Like when are they going to realize that their response has absolutely failed in a dismal way? I mean, it's a big question if you're an economist, right? Like, I don't know. And it's really good that Canada was so well run, because then you start to think, well, maybe Canada is a good model where it never was in the financial crisis to begin with. Yeah, it's got some social problems and this, that, and the other thing. But financial crisis, not so much. Maybe that's the model. I suppose it's relative, Fred, right? So, hey, look at that. What a coincidence. A big green candle. So anyways, that could be on the radar screen for now. And I'm looking around. Looking around. You know, is it time to get back into the beast? Looking for Wub, no, the wall face is looking for Wub. You gotta think about when are you gonna get back into the game. Oh, those are the trading sessions, Dave. Okay, so like New York moved 136 pips. During that session, right? And Asia opened and moved 129 pips. Neato, right? So what are you going to do with this, with the beast here? Are you going to sell retracements back here? It's pretty easy if you have a plan. What is your plan? Ron says, is that an indicator on MT4? Yeah, this is MT4. I think it's called sessions. 4 sessions. The thing is, once you find it, then you have to configure it so it shows you the right time zones. Because I seem to remember, if you just install it, all the time zones are wrong. So you have to kind of monkey around with it until you get it right. Looking for wub. Okay, you got to make a decision. What are you doing? Are you going to buy it off the 21, for example? You know what I'd like to do? That's what I'd prefer. Oh, look, there's Michael Dell. I met him in 1993. And then after that, we were having a luncheon, and the president of American Express came out and spoke to us. I was part of a university leadership organization. He comes out and he starts talking about American Express and leadership and all that kind of stuff. But he starts out, he's like, so, because we're all students, right? And he says, well, one of the things we own is American Express Travel. And we're famous for American Express travelers checks and all that kind of stuff. And he said, if anyone can tell me, what year American Express started offering, travelers checks or something, right? And I'll give you a free trip anywhere in the United States, right? A free airline ticket. And then he goes on with his speech. Well, I immediately stand up. The room is full of like 300 kids. I stand up. I walk out to the lobby of the hotel because this is 1993. There's no internet. It hadn't been invented yet. Al Gore wasn't around. So, anyways, go out to the lobby, pick up a payphone, and I call the 1-800 number to American Express. Hello, American Express. How can I help you? Yeah. Can you tell me what year? Then I came back, sat down, and then he's like, "All right, so now that I'm done with that speech, who knows what year, right?" 3 or 4 hands go up even before me. 1952, 1973. Nope, nope, nope. Finally, the man over there, boom, 1836. Boom, free ticket. Oh my God, that kid is so smart. Yeah, that was the day I met Michael Dell. Can you tell us the right times for sessions? Well, I think I have mine. My New York session, I kind of call like 8 o'clock, or you can call it 9 o'clock, or you can base it on stock market opens. So the New York stock market opens at 9:30. Okay. If you said 10, I think that would be too late. But you could do it 7:30 in the morning. I mean, when does New York open? I don't know. You tell me. So right now it's 8:20, and I still have it on London. So I must have a 9 a.m. open. That's fine by me. Is that right, Brooke? Cool. So you have to decide now, are you going to sell it at 36 or you're not? If it's not 36, your next one's 36.50, right? But you can't be looking at it trying to make the decisions on the fly. You should already know. So we're at 36,000,000,000,000,000. Now, if you're a buyer, well, you got the 4-hour 55. The daily 21 is even a little lower. But if you bought it at today's 4-hour 55, then in 2 days, probably the daily 21 will be touching our current bottom. So once again, you can't be looking at your charts asking it, hey charts, what should I do here? Charts never answer that question. Right? So you're either pointing this down or you're pointing it up. Right? Because remember, both are correct. Which one's correct, Wayne? Which one should I be doing? They're both correct. The difference is your bias. Okay. So selling at 136 is redonkulously obvious if you're a bear. Okay. What else would you be looking for? Okay. Okay, let's, I guess we can look at the Kiwi since we hedged it yesterday. Nice little recovery. You tell me, this is a 5-minute chart. Do you think the weekly central is a coincidence? I have Tokyo opening at 8 p.m. New York time. Tokyo opens. Oops. Tokyo opens at 8. Shanghai opens at 9:30. Okay. Whatever you want to call it. To be fair, Seoul opens at 8 as well. It's not all Tokyo. So anyways, once again, the reason I ask obvious questions is I know the answer. That's a good start right then and there. But if you believe that the market reversed because of this weekly central, then you should throw everything you have at learning weekly central pivot or weekly pivot points. Because you know by empirical evidence that professionals use weekly pivot points. Somebody asked me during NFP if I truly believed that professionals use weekly pivot points, and I said yes, 100% unequivocally yes. Because I look at this and say the entire market reversed, right at the weekly central. Okay. So I find that incredibly powerful. Okay. I think if this dropped back below 75, I might have to take profit. But this is what happens when you have a carry, how quickly it collapses. Now, isn't it interesting? We talked yesterday in New York. So here's the New York Open. It was actually just before the New York Open. So we were here 24 hours ago. And for what, 20 minutes to a half an hour, we talked about hedging this. What do you think? Pretty good timing to have a conversation like that, right? So let me ask you, did anyone take counter trend directional income based trades, aka hedge, yesterday? All right, so Brooke's going to buy cigars for me. That's excellent. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Ryan and I smoked a Cohiba Bay Hike 56. Very nice. Miles says, I find counter trends very risky. Excellent, Miles. That is the right attitude. Absolutely. So that's why we discussed it yesterday in terms of like a hedge. It's a short-term income type trade. Okay. But for those that are fairly new to trading, right? One of the things we discussed in all early training, right? And is that the 55 tells you that this is going to double top. Now, it may not, which is fine because we can't influence the future, but it predicts that it will. Right? How many people know that? That a step down, as I would have said yesterday, predicts a top, right? Like you already know down here that this is going to wimp out up here. Isn't that neat? So that's why yesterday we talked about it falling. Isn't that neat? Okay. If you've read my book, it says it'll come back down to the 200 EMA, doesn't it? If this is control, it's going to go up, wimp out, drop down to the 200 EMA. Did it drop down to the 200 EMA? It's a trick question. You should say no because it's not touching, is it? Look at the difference. Now I'll tell you what, come back in 3 days, or I guess 2 days, right? How about Friday close? Check it out. You know what's going to happen? This 200 EMA will be right there. And you'll say, how did I miss that? How did I miss that? Oh my gosh. Well, remember, this 200 EMA is lagging, but it is moving. You have to shoot in front of the eland. Eland's nice and slow. If you're hunting gazelles, you got to shoot farther in front of the gazelle. Look at this guy. Can you see it? You can't. Behind the speaker, there's you can see that there's windows outside of New York City. There's some dude with long hair, and he's combing his hair. They're all laughing at him. It's so funny. He's looking at himself in the reflective mirror window, combing his beautiful long hair, not realizing he's also on national TV. He's like, "Oh, I think I'll brush my flowing long hair." Dude, you're on national TV. That's so funny. Everyone turned around and laughed at him. Smith asks, Wayne, do you trade the same way on 4 hour and on daily? Si, senor. Yeah, there's no difference to me between a 4 hour chart and a 1 minute chart. So for example, we talk about it a lot, but like yesterday's trade on pound was a scalp. Right? Where's my Forex.Today? I lost it somewhere. Let's do it. Yesterday's scalp that I posted on Forex.Today, based on our analysis of the pound, or of the Kiwi, really. Oh, good. Thomas has got his trades up there. Beautiful charts, man. Good stuff, Thomas. All right. So this one. Okay. 5 minute chart. Sold it exactly at the top. Great. Nice. Great. Fine. Couple of things here. That was based on the analysis of Kiwi yen 4 hour chart. What? So Smith, we're looking at a pound yen 5 minute chart short here, but the analysis was Kiwi yen ,4 hour. Okay. So what's going on here? Well, we realized because of the step down, or the potential for the step down, right? The retracement to the 55, the up to the lower high or triple top, that the Kiwi yen was likely to fall for the next few hours, right? Maybe a day, somewhere between 12 and 24 hours, right? Because it's the number of candles, right? Somewhere between 4 and 6 candles, let's say. So because of that, that's a strategic play. That's strategic analysis. Okay? So if you work at a bank and you're an analyst, you make $62,000 a year. Okay? That's it. And you do things like Kiwi yen could possibly fall in the 4 hour. Great. A trader then moves over to the 5 minute and says, well, there's a high correlation between the pound yen and the Kiwi yen, except the average daily range is much significantly higher on the pound yen. So I'm going to scalp the pound yen on a 5 minute chart, because if there's like, let's say, an 82% chance Kiwi yen will fall, there's probably a 94% chance that the pound yen will fall. At the same time, it'll just fall farther and faster. So I'll move over to the 5 minute chart, look for a break low, retracement back, and sell, in particular off of the disappointing risk-off news of the poor ISM report. And I'll scalp the 5 minute chart, and instead of picking up 33 pips I'm going to pick up 333 pips because A, I got the news. B, I got the counter trend position. And 3, or right, or A or C, I'm hedging, right, my other yen pair. And you know the difference now? Because I can do the second thing. You make $620,000 as a trader at the bank instead of $62,000. Right? It changes everything. I was given a soft job offer the other day. Yeah. Excuse me. I think it was sort of like a feel them out job offer. $70,000 signing bonus. Just sign this piece of paper, work for us. We'll pay you $70,000 on your first day. No. Stupid. What do you think I am? An analyst? Please, I got chunks of corn in my bigger than that. Right? Because you can take care of your destiny. So going back to the idea here, do I trade? Is there a difference between the 5-minute chart and the 4-hour chart? I can't trade the 5-minute chart without the 4-minute chart because I wouldn't know what I was doing. For doing what? It didn't matter, Miles. Right? And they got the idea. No. What am I going to do with that? Think of it. You'd have to buy a car and car insurance and commute to work every day. So therefore, I wouldn't actually have a bonus. It'd just be like, all right, so now I have to drive to work every day, and I got myself a, what, lease myself a Mercedes or, you know, get that Porsche I was talking about yesterday and like drive to work. Like it's like a zero sum. It's like, well, I think to, let's say, an hour and a half of my day every single day. And I start adding that up, and I'm like, well, that's worth way more than 70,000. So not interested, pass, right? See what I mean? So no. So look, if you're an analyst, guys, that's great. Because now you're a salary, right? You're a factory worker. You put labels on cans, and then you sort the cans, and then you put the cans into the boxes, and then you put the boxes in the truck, and then you go back to the putting labels on cans again, and you do that all for 47 years and until your bad back gives out and your eyesight's gone. Not interested. Okay? That's why you got to control your destiny. All right, so that's how you line up like a 5-minute and a 4-hour. Right? Do you get the point? Right, Smith? So another way of looking at it, right? Another way of looking at it is, what did I name my book? I only wrote one book. I co-authored a few other things, but right? Strategic Okay? And that's really, when you think of the strategic idea, that's what an analyst does. So one way that a bank works is they have an analyst side of the bank. They create strategies, and then they sell it. They sell their strategy. Hey, we have a trading idea. It's like a stockbroker. Hey, have you looked at Chipotle? Chipotle. Stock's knocked way down. It's down 13% for the year, but we hear big money is interested in it, and mutual funds want to get back in. You got to buy the dip. It's got over 300 stores. The worst is over from the scare. You should get into Chipotle. You should buy Chipotle. That's a strategy, right? But then they just go out and sell it, right? You're just selling your ideas, right? Well, what good is an idea if you don't know how to implement it? Well, as much as good as, being like the biggest military in the world with all the most advanced technology, and then you just run into a fight. And you're all tactics, but you have no idea what you're doing. Now, if you've ever played team sports, not everyone here has probably played a team sport, but if you've ever played a team sport, and you know that a team that plays well together, right, and has practiced plays, right? So they have a strategy, but they also have practiced their tactics, and they play well as a team. I don't care how amazing you are skill-wise, they're most likely going to whoop your butt. Even if your team has better players, it's having a strategy and then the tactics to carry it out, where a team of really good players are just all tactics, right? They're just all tactics, but very often cannot win. So it's sort of like the American dream team in basketball going to the Olympics. They're all NBA millionaires, and the Italians walk in and embarrass them. And then Argentina comes in and embarrasses them. Do you remember that time? I think it was Argentina, wasn't it? That they were dunking over NBA guys, and not just dunking, but like instead of dunking, right at the last second, passing it to another guy so he can dunk over the NBA guy. You're like, are they mocking them? Oh my God. They're mocking them. Yeah. Yeah, that was a few Olympics ago, right? I haven't watched this Olympics, but I remember those days. So clearly the NBA players were really good, but they couldn't play as a team. So anyway, so it starts with strategic, and that's the 4 hour, for example. And then the other part is tactical. And I think if you are let's say a professional, because you could be a trader and you could be all tactics, right? And you could be an analyst and you could be all strategy. And the sell side calls the buy side and sells them stuff. And then when it stops working, maybe the buy side calls the sell side and, hey, what should we do next? Right? And it just kind of blah, 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 blah. When you're a hedge fund, you might have this as two different sides of the office. You have a strategy side and a tactical side, maybe. Or at a bank, very often, the strategy is your client. They have to come up with their own strategy. It might be like a commercial client, right? A corporate client that says, all right, well, we need to move a bunch of money to our Japanese office. Get us the best deal on yen. Okay? So it'd be your job to tactically do that. Or as a bank, a client might say, we need to issue bonds, right? We need to issue bonds, $1 billion worth of bonds, or $100 million worth of bonds, and we need to do it in a foreign currency, and we need to, need to make sure we get the best conversion possible, right? So that would be all tactical. Now, for you, what I believe you need is the ability to develop the strategy first yourself. Okay? Right? That's the 4-hour chart. That's the daily chart. That's fundamental analysis. That's macroeconomics. That's having a bias. You can take your time on this. You don't, right? This doesn't change day by day, hour by hour. In fact, for me, it changes quarter by quarter, maybe, year by year, that kind of stuff. Okay, but you start there, Smith. And then once you got that in mind, the tactical part is actually quite easy. I just have to do it. So like, I know I want to sell yen, and I know I want to hedge those positions. And we talked about it for a half an hour yesterday, and guess what I did? I hedged like a mofo and made money. Well, isn't that the whole thing? I mean, isn't that what we do? This is why you log in every day, right? How do I do it? How do I do it, Wayne? Well, that's how you do it. Exactly what we talked about yesterday. And yesterday we're in a long-term position and we hedged it. Made income, right? Made income, made 300 and something pips yesterday. And today we're right back to where we were yesterday. Plus interest. Plus, okay, you might look at it and say, well, okay, we're right back to where we were. So I haven't lost any money, right? Well, I didn't lose money on this one. Sure, check, check. But I also made 333 pips on top of that. Check, check. Better off. Cool, right? So do I trade it differently though? No. I just knew to hold for a bigger win yesterday because I had the right strategy. Cool, right? So now the trick is to get you to do it. So what do I need to do? Tell me how I can help you. How do I get you to do stuff like this? Why did I hedge the pound instead of the Kiwi? Well, for the issues I mentioned, that we knew there was an extreme high probability of a retracement yesterday on the Kiwi yen. I wasn't long pound yen anyways. I was long Kiwi yen, as you know, and I'm still long if I back out, or I'll put it to an hourly. I have to back out even farther. Okay, so I'm long here, right? But I wasn't long pound yen. Okay, Pippin? I'm long Kiwi yen, not pound yen. But also I know if I'm going to scalp, the average daily range is significantly higher on the pound yen. So for example, if the Kiwi yen's going to drop 100 pips, the pound yen will probably drop somewhere between 200 and 300. Okay? So Ryan gets to my point here. How do I get you to improve? Well, I can't, I could yell at you, I guess. I prefer to treat you like an adult. I like to beg sometimes, but nobody ever listens to that. They just don't. I don't know what goes through people's minds. I don't. All I can do is I can put an opportunity in front of you. And the opportunity I've put in front of you is to post your trade plans on Forex.Today so that it raises your personal standards for analysis. It forces you to do the work because you know that you're posting it publicly and that other people will see this. And so maybe it'll slow your trading down. Instead of you opening up your charts and just throwing down a bunch of trades, you will stop and you will think and you'll analyze and you'll think some more and you'll adjust your analysis and you'll start to develop proper strategies. Instead of just being all tactics. And like I've said many times, if you just go to the driving range and just hit a bunch of balls day after day after day, essentially what you're doing is you're memorizing poor trading or poor golf habits. Slice, slice, slice. Go ahead, hit 1,000 slices a day. Guess what you've taught yourself? James says you got to wake up and decide if you're a cat or a dog, or you wake up and decide if you're a bull, a bear, or a pig. But if you go to the driving range and hit 1,000 slices a day, you're practicing and memorizing how to slice. If you just go out onto the course, play around, hit some balls, up, 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 up. Once again, you're just a mediocre golfer for life. And I know that. I know that from my own golfing. I know that from my father's golfing, where he golfs 100 times a year, and he's no better than he was 10 years ago. He says he is, but then I go golfing with him, and he's not. In fact, he may have been a better golfer 10 years ago. Right? So there's more to it. There's intent, there's focus, there's practice. Right? So for example, if all you did for a year was use a 5-iron, and you had a coach that taught you how to use 5-irons, and you practiced using 5-irons. And the only way you can get more distance when you need it is to hit it long and low. And then when you're too close, you learn how to hit your 5-iron higher and softer. And you just get really good at like being able to manipulate your shots. Right? You can hit it farther or softer. Right? You can hit it from left to right or right to left. So you practice, you get coaching, you play rounds, and you just get really, 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 really good with your 5-iron. Can you imagine that? And that's all you did for a year? So imagine that you did this now. After 4 years, you get really good at driving. Maybe it's not even a driver, it's a 3-wood. You can use it in almost all kinds of situations. And you're really good with a 5-iron. Right? You're really good with a pitching wedge. And you're really good at putting. because you had focused, controlled intent for each one at a time. You mastered driving and all the subtleties of driving. And you've mastered the 5-iron and all the subtleties of the 5-iron. You mastered the pitching wedge and all the subtleties of the pitching wedge. And you've mastered putting and all the subtleties of putting because you had controlled, focused intent. Little things, how to stand properly, how to balance your weight, how to grip it properly, how to even focus and aim. All these little things. You know what? I bet you'd be a really good golfer in those 4 or 5 years. Or you can just open up your laptop every morning, sit down in the kitchen, throw down a bunch of trades. You're done. Boom. Next. And you have no consistency, no focus, no intent. You're going for 30 pips here, 22 pips there. Hey, I made 100 pips today. You feel so good. Huh. It's so ridiculous. Right? It's really, really ridiculous. So we got to get you out of that really poor habit. And 10 trades a day is not going to make you a better trader. It's just not. Right? So how about if you're going to post on Forex.Today, why don't you focus on one particular currency, and then even on that currency, so let's say you want to specialize in the Canadian dollar, then so be it. Okay? And then maybe even in there, maybe you want to focus on trading weekly pivot points, or right on the Canadian dollar. And maybe in that, you want to look for swing trades on the Canadian dollar using pivot points set up on a 1-hour chart. So you want to look for it to be going in the direction of your bias. You want to look for pullbacks. You want to look for pivots and cycles. And then once you got that set up on the 1-hour or the 4-hour, then you post the second part of your analysis of 5-minute entries. Well, how do you like to enter those? Do you want to look for 1, 2, 3s? Do you want to look for double tops? Do you want to look for 5-8 crosses, or how about 2155 crosses with second cycle Stokes? But have excuse me, have very, very specific intent. Do you understand what I mean by second cycle Stokes? Okay. So maybe that was your initial entry, or where you thought it would pop out, but your actual second cycle is that one, and you short it there. Okay? Whatever. But I want you to have a very, 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 very focused intent. You know what I mean? Like literally, pick a currency that you want to specialize. So if it's CAD, it could be CAD Yen, Dollar CAD, CAD Swissy, Euro CAD, Pound CAD, Aussie CAD, whatever. You get it? And then from there, maybe you want to use pivot points and specifically weekly pivot points so that you can swing trade. Sell on a Tuesday, take profit on a Thursday or Friday. So now you got to look at where the market opens on a Monday, where are the weekly pivots, am I bullish or bearish, where is it setting up, where is it likely to go, where are the targets for the week, right? And then when you get that, drop down into a 5-minute. How do you like to enter your 5-minute? What kind of reversal pattern are you going to look for in those areas? And then start setting all that up. So you're like, well, Wayne, that's like 4, 5, 6 specific things I would have to look for. Isn't that called strategy? Followed by tactics. See, what typically people do is they throw down a bunch of trades, slice, 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 slice. So that's not working. Change your club. Get another club. Slice, 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 slice. Well, maybe you need a different grip on your club. Change the grip. Slice, 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 slice. Well, right? Whoa, well, I never use my driver. My driver sucks. I'm going to use my 3-wood. Slice less, slice less, slice less. It's just like, well, you see how you're standing? You're wide open, dude. Right? It's not the club. It's not the grip. Your drive sucks. Your golfing sucks. Right? Yeah, you're popping your head. Could be that one, right? When I was a venture capitalist, we looked really, really closely at this product, and it was called a pivot T. I don't know. It was a T with a hinge down the middle. Yeah. Yeah, maybe you're left-handed, yeah. And the funny thing is, it made people better golfers. I don't think we actually invested, though, but we looked at it, and I remember even doing a couple of rounds with the golf tee. But it would only pivot one way. So when you hit it, it would bend, it would actually, pivot. There was a hinge. But if you didn't have the hinge pointed in the right direction, then you'd just break it. You see what I mean? It's been patented, so you can't steal this, but it was like a tee that held your golf ball, and it kind of went like this. So your golf ball would sit like this, right? And then there's like a little hinge, and then it would come down like this. Okay? And it would only bend this way, right? Or this way, right? But if you hit into the hinge, you would just break it in half. You understand? And the original guy that invented it thought it would save tees. How much money do you lose a year on tees? $3? A real big problem, right? So you're going to buy $20 worth of these tees with little hinges on them? Hell no. Right? You understand? Like, no one would possibly do that. But can you sell $20 tees if it made you a better golfer? And it actually made you a better golfer. Because you would focus on which way the tee broke. You would have to actually aim the tee where you wanted the ball to go. You understand? If you've ever golfed, you may recognize the aha moment here. See, amateur golfers with their $300 club driver, because that'll make them better. What happens is they get up there and they put the ball down and they want to hit it far. Hit the big dog. Right? Time to hit the big dog. Let it bark. Right? And what? They line up, right? They line up to the ball, left arm straight, big follow through. Of course, their swing sucks and their grip sucks and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, and they hit it and slice into the trees. Another ball, another tee. Boom! Slice out into the trees. And then the third ball. Boom! Hook way to the left over into those trees. You know what the one thing that most amateur golfers don't do? Besides hitting the ball square in the face of the club. They do everything but aim. Where are you heading? Where are you aiming, dude? You're like straight out into the trees. Yeah, well, I aim left because I always slice. Oh, my God. So you aim left because you hit right. Oh, then now you're really inconsistent, right? So what I'm trying to get you guys to do is aim. You understand? And the rest will be a lot easier if you're actually aiming. And then what I want you to do is have very, very, very consistent behavior. I want you to sell at resistance or buy at support. And when you're at support or resistance on the higher time frame, then I want you to drop into a small time frame and trade in a very specific way. Do you trade the 5A cross on the first move? Do you trade the double top as a second move? Do you trade 1, 2, 3 patterns, which is a double top followed by a lower low, or a double bottom followed by a higher high? But the thing is, it's not just simple. I want you to have very consistent behavior, because you cannot be confident as a trader unless you have control over what you're doing. And control comes from consistency. You understand? The consistency. Because when things are not going your way and you're going through a bad streak, you can analyze what you're doing. Usually what happens is you're not doing anything consistent. Right? And then, so you try something for a couple of weeks, and that's not working. It worked for a while, but now it's not working. So now you try another thing, and then let's try some Elliott wave, and then let's try some of this, and let's try some of that, and very often you're not behaving the same way in the same situations, right? To say it differently, I could probably look at your trading behavior in 5 different similar scenarios, and you're behaving 5 different ways in each scenario. And now there's no way to know what you're doing right or wrong. You don't know your strengths and weaknesses. I'd rather you behave exactly the same way over and over and over and over and over again. And then if it's not working very well, or even if it is working well, we can see if there are ways to help you improve, because then we can analyze how you behave in that situation, identify the strengths of that, and we keep all of those, and then identify things to work on that may improve your results. How am I supposed to know, or how are you supposed to know your strengths and weaknesses if your trading behavior is inconsistent? Do you understand? It just doesn't even make logical sense. So most likely, if you sat down and analyzed what you're doing as a trader, it makes no logical sense. And yet you think you should be successful, right? So I challenge you to break your habits. That's it. And develop ones that consistently do better than what you're doing now. Excuse me, still a little sick, obviously. So, post a trade plan. Man up or lady up, do some analysis, and then wait for a decent setup, and then set it up and post it publicly. Peace on earth. May the pips be with you. May your profits be above average, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for being a client of TradersWay, and if you're not, open up account today. Cheers.